Jerusalem, 70 AD. After 4 years of rebellion against Rome, the Jewish people faced their ultimate trial. The legions of Titus, son of Emperor Vespasian, stand at the gates. Stone will shatter, flesh will fail, faith will be tested. This is the siege of Jerusalem, a cataclysm that reshaped Judaism, echoed through Christianity, and scarred history. The spark. Judea chafed under Roman rule, heavy taxes, insensitive governors, pagan symbols defiling the Holy Land. Jewish life centered on the temple and Torah clashed with Roman demands for emperor worship, zeal for God and freedom intertwined. In 66 AD, a dispute in Caesarea escalated. The Jerusalem Roman garrison was massacred. Governor Cestius Gallus marched south but suffered humiliating defeat at Beth Horon. Jerusalem was free, briefly. Chaos followed. Rebel factions fractured. Zealots, Sicarii assassins, and others vied violently for control. This internal strife was Jerusalem's first fatal wound. While General Vespasian systematically crushed rebels across Galilee and Judea, Jerusalem tore itself apart. Moderates seeking negotiation were purged. Jewish blood soaked Jewish streets. Resources for the coming siege were squandered. By 69 AD, Vespasian became emperor, leaving his son Titus to finish Judea. Jerusalem, weakened and fractured, was utterly unprepared. The storm gathers, spring 70 AD. Titus arrived with overwhelming force. 4 battle-hardened legions, V Macedonica, Tuci Fulminata, 15 Apollinaris, ex Fretensis, plus auxiliaries, 60,000 to 80,000 men. Their mission: crush Judea, reclaim Jerusalem. The city was naturally strong, perched on hills behind 3 massive walls, the outermost built recently by Herod Agrippa. The Antonia fortress guarded the Temple Mount's north. Herod's palace dominated the upper city. Titus paraded his legions, a display meant to intimidate. The response? Defiant shouts and sallies. Negotiations failed. Leaders like John of Gishel, Temple, and Simon Bar Giora, upper city, vowed to fight to the death. Titus knew Jerusalem would only fall by force, starvation, and relentless engineering. The walls fall. Titus encircled the city, cutting off escape and supply. Forests were stripped. Siege ramps rose like malignant growths against the outer defenses. Roman artillery, ballistae, stone throwers, and scorpions, bolt firers, unleashed a relentless barrage day and night, killing defenders, demoralizing civilians, smashing buildings. The rebels fought fiercely, raiding to burn siege engines, turning captured artillery on Romans, pouring boiling oil and date syrup on climbers, dropping boulders. The outer wall, newest but longest, fell after 15 brutal days. Defenders retreated to the formidable second wall. The battle there was bloodier and chaotic. Romans breached, poured in, were ambushed in narrow streets, and driven back. Savage fighting persisted for days before Titus secured it. Jerusalem was compressed. Refugees and defenders were squeezed into the dense inner city, upper city, Zion, lower city, Ophel, and the sacred fortified Temple Mount. The true horror: famine. The city was swollen beyond capacity. Trapped pilgrims, refugees, crammed behind the inner walls. Grain stores, depleted by civil war, ran out. Hunger began its cruel work. Josephus, the Jewish historian, rebel-turned-Roman advisor, witnessed scenes of unimaginable suffering, people scouring streets for scraps, boiling leather, eating garbage. Food prices soared astronomically. Starvation brought disease, spreading rapidly in overcrowded, unsanitary conditions. Corpses piled up, too numerous to bury. The stench of death was overwhelming. Josephus recounts the horrific depths: mothers driven mad by hunger, stealing food from children, and the unthinkable: Mary, of noble birth, killing, roasting, and eating her infant son. This story, literal or metaphorical, encapsulates the city's moral and physical collapse. Factions like John and Simon prioritized fighting each other and hoarding dwindling food for fighters, overfeeding the populace. Jerusalem was devouring itself. The temple falls. Through May and June, focus shifted to the Antonia fortress, key to the Temple Mount. Roman ramps rose again, facing fierce resistance and defender countermining. Titus built enormous armored siege towers. After tunnels collapsed and desperate charges, the Antonia fell in July. The path to the temple was open. The Temple Mount became the final battleground. For Jews, God's dwelling place, the universe's center. For Romans, the rebels' strongest fortress, the symbolic heart of resistance. Titus, despite later claims, knew its capture was essential. The outer courtyards became a charnel house. Romans fought zealots, making their last stand among colonnades and altars. Daily sacrifices continued almost until the end. Desperate piety amidst carnage. Then, on the fateful day, traditionally the 9th-10th of Av, July, August 70 AD, a Roman soldier hurled a burning brand through a golden window into the temple's inner chambers. Fire caught the dry cedar and tapestries, spreading rapidly. The temple was burning. Panic and horror seized defenders. Some fought on, consumed by flames. Others threw themselves into the fire. Romans, driven by fury and greed for treasure, poured in, looting sacred vessels, the great menorah, the table of showbread, the veil. Herod's magnificent Second Temple, built to inspire awe for centuries, was reduced to smouldering rubble in days. The heart of Judaism was ripped out. The end. The temple's fall broke organized resistance, but not the fighting. John and Simon retreated to the upper city. Titus offered surrender, refused. Romans built ramps against Herod's palace. By early September, the final defenses were breached. Last pockets of resistance were crushed ruthlessly. John surrendered. Simon was captured. The city was Roman. Titus ordered Jerusalem razed. What the siege hadn't destroyed, the Romans demolished. Only Herod's 3 great towers and part of the western wall were left standing to house the garrison and serve as a victory monument. The death toll was catastrophic. Josephus claims over 1 million perished, mostly famine, disease. Modern estimates, while lower, hundreds of thousands, remain immense. Tens of thousands more were enslaved or sent to die in arenas. Temple loot funded Rome's Flavian amphitheater, the Colosseum. The siege of Jerusalem was more than a military conquest, it was a cataclysm. For Judaism, it meant the end of the temple-based sacrificial system, the central pillar of religious life for centuries. The focus shifted to synagogues and rabbinical study, leading to the development of rabbinic Judaism. The event cemented the Jewish diaspora that had already begun, scattering communities across the Mediterranean and beyond. The Arch of Titus in Rome, depicting the triumph with the looted temple treasures, became a permanent symbol of both Roman victory and Jewish catastrophe. For Christianity, still a nascent sect within Judaism, the destruction was seen by many as divine judgment on the Jews for rejecting Jesus, a perspective tragically fueling later anti-Semitism. It also accelerated the separation of Christianity from its Jewish roots. For Rome, it solidified Vespasian's new dynasty, the Flavians, and demonstrated the empire's ruthless efficiency in crushing rebellion.